Welcome to the Common Man Football Show. My name is James Coburn, and today's episode, we're talking about the Baltimore Ravens 2017 season review analytics. And again, this is a new video I'm doing. I'm going over how the Baltimore Ravens performed as a team based on statistics, getting into different sort of variables, different sort of data points that I usually do this season, but with a point of emphasis on how to improve. So I'm going to tell you all the areas where the Ravens were not the best this year, but I'm also going to give you an idea as to where they need to be in the future if they want to win more football games and get better as a team. So this basically is just going to give you some perspective on that. It's also going to give you a historical perspective. So I'm going to give you data comparing the Ravens 2017 team to all Ravens teams since 1998. So that should be fun to look at that data. And then, of course, just getting into the other sort of stuff. So if you're new to the channel, you're new to my data, new to everything else like that, all terms and definitions are going to be in the description. I'm going to do as best as I can to explain things as I go along if I want to point out something or point of emphasis, whatever. But overall, let's get into it. So starting with this Ravens team, when you look at the NFL season data review sheet, which just gives you a general review of everything. The Ravens were not that bad in 2017. Obviously, they didn't win as many games as they probably should have. There's definitely areas where they can improve, but they were pretty much above average in every team statistical category on offense and defense. They were above average on total O score, total D score, total O/D. They didn't really turn the football over as much as well. Didn't allow as many sacks. Offensive score percentage was also above average. Defensive offensive score percentage was above average. The defense also had a very good turnover ratio. I mean, that was one of the best aspects of that defense was their ability to create turnovers, get interceptions. Sack percentage was not amazing, but definitely above average. So as you can clearly see, and of course you get to special teams and areas like that, the Ravens were pretty good in a lot of different areas. Like, this team is, I would say, pretty close. Like, if they can build off of this and get a little bit better in a lot of different areas, you could see a much better team in 2018. So I actually would be pretty excited, possibly, about the future with this team because if you look at the overall data, and then when you look at the 2017 Ravens compared to the 2016 Ravens, they pretty much got better in every category. They got better on defense in many ways. In terms of the ability to prevent first downs at the very least. They got better in terms of their total O score. They got better in terms of the turnover percentage, better in terms of sack percentage, better in terms of offensive score percentage. They got worse when it comes to defensive offensive score percentage. So basically the ability to prevent points, they got worse in that category. But they got better at creating turnovers, better at creating sacks. And special teams also kind of stayed constant to pretty much the same as well. Overall, the biggest thing that kind of went down a bit was just defensive offensive score percentage. But I think the biggest thing to be excited about is that they were able to go up in terms of turnovers, sacks, and interceptions. Those are two big categories that mean a lot, especially when it comes to winning Super Bowls. Those are two big categories that can really influence Super Bowl games, playoff games, stuff like that. So, this Ravens team did get better in a lot of different areas in 2017. They definitely were not elite in any one thing per se, but they definitely got better, which I think is a good indicator for what the future could hold for them as well. And when you rank the Ravens team based on all this data compared to every Ravens team, they were also above average as well. So they weren't really one of the worst Ravens teams ever. They were a little bit above average. They were pretty much in that sort of area, but this kind of shows you that they could get some upward trajectory, upward momentum into 2018. So I definitely would be very excited about the areas in where this team could go. Now, when you talk about areas to improve, this chart deals with all that. So this chart basically gives you an idea of the average scores in these different categories based on what the average score is for a 12 to 16 win team, a 9 to 11 team, an 8 win team, and a 7 win or less team. Areas where the Ravens should improve. Like, these are areas where they should try to get better. Total O score definitely can improve. They should be able to improve. They have to, like getting first downs is definitely something that they should improve upon, or try to look into improvement upon, because you should try to get into that 12 to 16 win area, and they happen to be more in the 9 to 11 win area when it comes to that particular category, to 8 wins or more. On top of that, another area where they definitely should improve, offensive score percentage. They definitely should try to push that into the 9 or 11 win, 12 to 16 win area. Defensive offensive score percentage could also use some improvement as well. You look at, and for the most part, all as well, if they could push that up a little bit more too. And I think if they improve the total O score, they improve their offensive score percentage, they improve their defensive offensive score percentage. If they improve all those areas, I think they overall will get into that 9 to 11 to 12 to 16 win area if they can improve those areas. So they don't really have a ton of stuff they really have to do. So I'd definitely be very excited about that. Again, I'm pretty intrigued by this Ravens team. They were pretty above average in a lot of statistical categories. So it's just a matter of getting a little bit better in these certain areas and then bumping themselves up. Which brings us to more micro data points. And when you look at this area, I think the biggest areas that they need to improve upon is their first down conversion rate with the pass. Because if you look at completion percentage, they weren't as good as they were in 2016, but they definitely were not significantly below average. Their running game improved in a lot of areas, in terms of the ability to convert with the run on first, second, and third down. So they actually were able to kind of have a pretty balanced rushing attack in 2017 as well. But the one thing that continues to be an issue is the ability to convert first downs with the pass on first down, second down, and third down. That's been a big issue for them. And I mean, Joe Flacco's Joe Flacco, and I understand there's a lot of love and a lot of this and a lot of that, but he just, and definitely offensive skill position is not exactly where it needs to be. But I think if you can improve first down, second down, and third down, I think that will be very beneficial. That will really help this team out if they can improve those areas. Because, the weird thing about the Ravens is that's the one area of the team that's really not been that great. Has been, the general ability of the passing game has just not been where it needs to be in many ways. And I think, 2017, 2016, pretty much identical in terms of that. So that has to improve, and I understand this is a tough sort of thing to talk about with people who are fans of Flacco and stuff like that, but the passing game just has to improve. If they want to get to that next level as a team, because defensively they made a lot of strides in a lot of different ways, offensively made a lot of strides as well in terms of the rushing game. But if they want to get into that upper echelon team, they have to improve the passing game. And you can just see significantly below average on first, second, and third down. So in terms of conversion rate with the pass. So that's definitely an area where they have to improve. They have to get better when it comes to that particular data point. So overall, team needs. So now we're going to get into what should they pursue. Like when it comes to the offseason, free agency, the draft, what should they go after? First of all, offensive playmakers. They need to get wide receivers. They need to get tight ends. They need to get things like that to help this team grow. I'm not going to put all the blame on Flacco, but I can understand that you don't really have amazing wide receivers. Ravens have never really been that type of team either in terms of having like great all-around wide receivers. Like I think the last great wide receiver that the Ravens actually have or had, other than like Anquan Bolden maybe, or Mike, not even Mike Wallace, but like Derek Mason, it's been a while since they've had like a really, really fantastic wide receiver, and a young wide receiver too, like not just like an older veteran that came in, so that's definitely an area where they need to improve. a more efficient quarterback. And maybe giving more weapons around Flacco will make him more efficient. But his entire career has not been that efficient. You know, like, I mean, after a couple years, okay, all right, you're a young quarterback, we'll see what happens. But once you get to the point where you've been playing like this for 5, 6, 7 years plus, and you've been playing at this level, you start to see a pattern here. And that's my big issue is I think Flacco is just not a very efficient quarterback, and you can improve at that position. You know, that's definitely a position where you can improve, and I definitely would look into that. Thirdly, you need to get better defensive playmakers, and specifically edge/defensive tackle. I think if you got, and not defensive tackle in terms of like stopping the run and stuff like that, defensive tackle in terms of getting pressure, in terms of getting into the backfield, getting sacks, stuff like that. Edge, you know, getting in the backfield, getting sacks, stuff like that. So getting playmakers on defense that can create sacks would be the best sort of way to take the defense to the next level over this offseason. And then lastly, punting can see some improvement. Your punting average was not that bad, but it wasn't exactly top 10 percentile in the NFL. So if you could find a better punter, I definitely would consider going after something like that. So those are all the areas where I think improvement is definitely an area to kind of look into. But not a ton of, I mean, definitely a lot of needs, but not as many as other teams. And I think that this Ravens team really has a lot of positives going forward. So if they can just put an emphasis on getting offensive playmakers, doing a little bit of tweaks on defense, and of course drafting the right players, then I think this team could be really, really good. But they have to improve a lot of these different areas if they want to take that next step. And that's always kind of a challenge. So, let me know in the comment section below, you know, what are your thoughts on this Ravens team going into 2018? And of course, my name is James Coburn. You can find my other work at draftcoburn.wordpress.com. You can also follow me on Twitter at Geometrics. And if you like this content and you want more content like this, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Share this video as well with anybody that you know. Hit that notification button so that you're always notified when another video of mine drops. And I will talk to you guys in the next video. Peace.